champions.
I was right.
Let's go!
I'm the best.
And here are your hosts, Jessica Town and Rob Lange.
You're a jackass.
Embrace the madness.
Happy Wednesday, everybody out there. Welcome into episode 115 of The Madness. Here with our new company, The Painted Lines, Jessica Town, Rob Lange, and now a member of the same group. When we had him on in the past, you know, it wasn't the case, but now it is. Austin Krell joins us in studio here at DETV in Wilmington, Delaware. Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. First opportunity to ever get behind the camera, go in studio. This is a dream.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and it's a perfect time to have you in. You know, we have been very Eagle, basically an Eagle show over the last few months,
Of course.
and now it's Sixers time. And man, is it a contentious Sixers time right now. And don't worry for the people that listen for Eagle stuff. There will be a little at the end. We'll throw in some sprinkles with the coaches. Howard Carmichael getting called to the Hall of Fame today.
Well deserved, by the way. Well deserved.
Well deserved.
Well deserved.
I
Oh my
actually
God,
know
yeah.
the guy personally. His son played at the high school that I teach at. We'll get into that towards the end. But this has got to be a Sixers show. Also, you put out a really good article today. I guess it was today or yet last night?
Put it out at like 1:30
Yeah.
this morning.
Basically telling people the sky is not totally fallen yet. There is an opportunity for this Sixers team with 41 games to go to turn this thing around, but there's certain things that probably have to happen amongst the players here, as well as in my hopes, some players that will be added to the roster, which with Norvell Pell's contract not getting picked up, that tells me that something could possibly be in the works at this point. So lots to talk about here. Jess, how was your week? I always like to ask Jess how her week is because normally there's a great story.
It really is always an adventure. Thursday and Friday were not great.
You've had a rough January.
Yeah, January's not been great. I was unfortunately at 2 different funerals last week on back-to-back days, which was just like not fun
Doesn't
at all.
start well.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. They not great, but the Sixers won on Thursday. That helped a little bit.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like sitting at home.
And then stopped winning again.
Yeah, but it's fine because they beat the Celtics, and I was sitting at
Yes,
home,
they did.
and I was like, it was a sad day, just sad. And Joe went over to his 1-3. Oh yeah, the Marcus Morris 3-0.
That's right.
Joe went to one of his friends' houses to watch the game, so I was just kind of like at home. I got Chipotle, and I was like, please just win. And he was actually at one of his friends' houses who's a Celtics fan.
Ooh.
So he's a Celtics Patriots fan. So
Probably
it was
shouldn't be
not
friends.
a great week for him, but it was
No.
pretty fun. And I called him and I was like, just do me a favor
Yeah.
and scream in Sean's face a little for me. And
Well, and you know, and listen, the Sixers have had a roller coaster type of year so far, but I will say, when I look at this season, it's been a bad month.
Yeah.
It's been a bad month. If you think about it, everything else was pretty much what you would expect out of an NBA season. This month has not been good, but they have beat Milwaukee on Christmas. They beat Boston again. Indiana, as always, seems to be a thorn in their side for whatever reason.
I miss TJ McConnell.
I know you do. Okay, here we go. Let's hear about these. See, this is my problem with the city.
I would just like to know what exactly Hal Neto is doing that TJ McConnell can't couldn't or would. I get he's 1.7 mil buried at the end of the bench versus the 7 mil that TJ McConnell's making. Whatever. But at the end of the day, at least he'd be useful.
No, I mean it's a valid point. I think TJ, especially when you think about like the kind of energizer bunny that he was off the bench.
It's true.
Like he didn't space the floor, but he was certainly a serviceable passer. He was reliable from the mid range. Would I like to have him back over like Raul Neto? Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean Trey Burke is a better player.
Trey Burke's
Trey Burke's absolutely a better backup to Ben.
I'm glad that
100%.
Trey's here. I'm glad that Trey's
I
here
agree.
because I know. And look, okay, and this is
I
gonna
just miss TJ McConnell.
this is going to be a good segue into what I think we need to talk a lot about today because I need to get it off my chest. But I know people were jumping all over. Why isn't Trey Burke playing earlier? Why isn't Trey Burke playing earlier? Guys, we're not there every day. There was a reason that Trey Burke was not getting. Maybe he wasn't understanding the system. Maybe I don't know. Also, you might have a better insight on this. But the fact is, an adjustment was made, something that people say our coach can't do. Our coach can't make adjustments. He doesn't know how to do it. an adjustment was made, and Trey Burke is getting more minutes. What do you think the delay was in getting him there?
I think it was largely about like the style of play that Trey Burke is. It's more about me. I'm gonna get a bucket in ISO. I'm going to, I'll utilize the pick and roll if it's there, like schematically speaking, but I'm not gonna look at the big to roll. I'm not gonna like look for plays at the rim. I'm going to I'm gonna finish through contact, get fouled, get and1s, get mid-range jump shots, which at the time before when he wasn't playing, it made more sense to play a guy like Neto because your offense wasn't so barren. And now it's more they really need shooting.
Need somebody.
They really need shot creation, and Trey Burke is the better option when it comes to that.
Yes. And I just remembered, we are on Facebook Live right now.
Yes.
Okay.
I've been sharing it around.
We've been sharing it around on Twitter, Facebook Live. Go to the DETV, which is where our wonderful studios is. Our man Dennis producing for us has got us hooked up over there on Facebook Live. So you can watch us live today. We are getting the kinks worked out. We will be back on YouTube live at some point. But DETV Facebook page today is where you can catch us live. And then obviously the podcast on iTunes and everywhere else that you enjoy your podcasting. So let's get into Brett, okay? And listen, I'm going to start this off this way because this is the number one thing that comes at me, okay? And Austin, I've had this conversation with you, just knows I am considered in all walks of life the Brett Brown apologist, but I'm never backing off of my fact that I think the guy's a good basketball coach. I'm not going to back off of that, regardless of what people tell me, regardless of what happens with him. I'm not backing off of that.
Right.
I will say this right here, right now, so it is heard by all.
Oh, Jesus.
I am fully on board with at the end of the season, if things do not get better and they either stay status quo or get worse, I am on board with moving on from Brett Brown because I understand the way the NBA works. You can't trade a whole team, so the coach is you're going to have to see if a new voice can come up. Totally 100% on board with that.
Yep.
And they have to do that before they blow up the team.
Yes.
There are some people that want them to fire him and blow up the team all at the same time.
Because that's the right
that doesn't make sense. That's like, let's start all over.
Yeah. So those are the people on Twitter who I'll see their notifications, but I'll just be like, yeah, I'm not going to indulge this.
No.
I'm going to look past this.
I have tried so many times not to indulge, and I normally do a good job, but sometimes I'm like, I got to say one thing. And then that just...
It's gotten me in trouble before.
Yeah. My point is this. Okay, everyone who wants Brett Brown gone today or tomorrow or any time before the end of the season, I want you to look back in the history of the NBA. And I haven't done this. I'm just assuming.
One time that we know of.
Tyronn
Lue coming in for David, which, by the way, the best player in the world was on that team, but neither here nor there.
Yeah.
When you make a midseason coaching change, you are giving up on the season.
Yeah.
You're not going to – you're either going to stay the same or maybe get slightly worse and then have to go in the next season.
This team is not going to all of a sudden take over the entire world with a new
I know
coach.
that there's
now.
I know there's a belief that Al Horford and Josh Richardson and Ben Simmons and all these guys are just not listening to Brett Brown, and that's why these things. No. Okay, this is not the case. And this is what frustrates me. And maybe it is my bias as a coach, right? I know I only coach high school kids, but I know that you could say things over and over and drill and do that.
Of course.
When the players get on the court, they have to do them.
You can't play for them.
Everyone's saying, oh, well, Ben's not shooting because Brett allows it. No, yeah. Brett has said it privately. He said it publicly. Red Auerbach could say it to Ben Simmons right now, and it wouldn't matter because it's a mental thing. That's something he has to figure out. That's not on. To me, a coach can't change your mentality. He could try, but he can't change it.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting situation with Brett because I think I have slowly seen the light of, look, if they win a championship by some miracle this season, it's not going to be because the coach was an artist.
I agree.
I totally agree. It's
going
to be because Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and Tobias and the rest of the starters carry the team and will them to one.
Yes.
And I don't care how they get there. I just win a championship. Having said that, I think and I have this tweet literally on my drafts ready to go.
Yeah.
You don't have the pieces on this roster where if you fire the coach mid-season, like, okay, the coach is gone now. We have a better coach in place. Now we can really kick this thing going and really go on a run. Mm-hmm. This team is flawed in its construction and in the way it's built.
Yes.
If you get rid of the coach now,
not only will you upset Joel Embiid, which will have an effect down the line, because if he's upset, then nothing's going to go well.
Well, then I think a lot of people think Joel doesn't like Brett Brown.
He loves Brett Brown.
And if you read the thing today, he says they're going to be a problem in the playoffs. That wouldn't be a way of saying I don't like my coach if he thinks that confidently in this group as constructed.
Right.
So
Joel also feels really responsible for a lot of the people that lost their jobs based on his injury history.
Yeah.
Like starting with Sam Hinkie and a couple different people in the organization that have lost their jobs since then, he takes that responsibility fully on his shoulders, and he carries that guilt with him every day. So not only is he dealing with mentally all the stuff that he talked about in that article today, he's talked about before how he feels very responsible for some of the people that lost their jobs due to the fact that he couldn't stay healthy the first, he had the surgery right before they drafted him, which was, whatever, but also, he then re-broke it and had to have that surgery again.
Right.
So there are people that lost their jobs because of that draft selection and because of the fact that he almost walked away from the NBA, but part of all the stuff that goes into it is he feels guilty and wants to show that he was worth it. And Brett Brown is absolutely one of those people that he would feel responsible for Brett losing his job. He would take this finger injury personally because it would be the reason Brett lost his job. That's how he would think.
Well, that's
about
the other reason why I don't think you can fire Brett. Now, listen, I've heard some rumors 4 to 6 weeks possibly for Joe. I know it's, I said.
You've been talking to the right people?
Yeah. I've heard a couple rumors from people, 4 to 6 weeks.
From surgery.
Which means
What,
that
are we a
he'd
week
still
out?
and he'd still be getting himself in the basketball shape probably to mid to end of March.
And he'll never really be in basketball shape.
Right. So to me, it doesn't matter who you bring in right now. That's going to be hanging over any coach's head. But you hit it on, and I said this a couple weeks ago to Jess. We all, not all of us, but many people looked at the roster construction and said, this is great. We were wrong. The roster construction was, I understand what they were going for.
Right.
But it's not panning out what they were going for. First of all, I don't know if Al's complaining or not. I don't know if I buy into the Boston report that Al's out there complaining about his youth. But regardless, something's off.
Right.
Something's off with Al.
He shouldn't be chucking up 15 ugly threes a game.
No. And listen,
they're ugly.
If that's Brett Brown telling him to do that, well, then that's wrong, and that's an
that's what Brett Brown. To the people who detract from Brett Brown, they do make a point. He did come out and say, in the postgame, I want them shooting more threes. Which with this team, I don't think you need a PhD to know that this team is not the team that
capable.
They're taking
of doing
live
this.
and die by
that
the
is,
three.
That is
way
an
too
absolute
seriously.
valid argument.
They're dying by the
yeah,
They're dying.
There's no living.
There's
no living.
They lived on Christmas Day.
Yeah, that was it.
But that's the thing.
But
you're
we all
gonna
said
have
Christmas Day was an anomaly.
Right, but you're gonna have those nights where they're not gonna get to that level again.
Right.
But there's gonna be nights where one or two of them they're falling.
Yes.
One or two people have those shots falling,
Right.
whether it be
Josh.
Josh a couple nights or Tobias a couple nights
Or Furkan every now and again.
Yeah. So you never know. Sometimes they're gonna fall, and you're gonna have better nights. But more often than not, there's 2, maybe 3 people on the roster that anytime they take a shot, that there's a higher chance it's going in the net.
Absolutely.
Tobias, when one of his goes up, you're like, okay, that'll probably go in. Josh Richardson, when one of those goes up, okay, it'll probably go in. Furkan Korkmaz,
Depends on the day.
I'll go 70% of the time. You're like, okay, that should go in.
Anybody
else, you're like,
it looks good at least.
Yeah, Furkan is the most it drives me nuts watching
he
him play.
makes me so mad.
Because I'm sitting there, I'm like, do I like him or not? I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't figure that out in my head.
Because he does things makes a great 3, and then all of a sudden he goes down the other way with this lazy ass pass to Ben Simmons that Ben got blamed for missing that dunk, by the way, which has me irate on other levels. Lazy ass pass, then goes down, fouls Kemba, which I don't have a problem with, but lets him get the shot off still. So then all of a sudden it's a 3-point play, and I'm like, what are you good for?
Yeah.
Taking my headset off.
I backed up too.
You know what's funny is
My
she's
bad.
absolutely right. In the article, actually, I said that Furkan's he's gotten much better with
Oh
the
my
shooting.
God, yes.
Yeah.
It was 32% last year to 38 this year. The one thing that keeps him in my mind, I still can't stand him no matter what. The and ones. I mean,
Yes.
he is not strong enough in the upper body perspective to commit a foul and then hold a guy down so that way the shot
Right.
doesn't get to the rim.
Right.
He's fouling guys little slaps on the elbow.
And it's an easy layup.
And it's and ones every single time. So you make a 3 and you give up 3 more.
Yeah.
It makes me so mad because he doesn't have enough good to balance the bad yet.
Yep.
So he's out there just making me angry. Like you make a three and in a crucial time, and I love you for 4.6 seconds until you screw it up on the other end of the floor.
Yeah, and I think that's like the main thing that keeps him in like the positive with people is a lot of his threes come in the fourth quarter
they've
when
been
the
big this
team
year.
desperately needs
They've been big
a shot.
this year.
Yeah.
And it's weird, but outside of him, outside of Matisse, and I guess Trey Burke to a certain extent lately, the bench has been underwhelming.
Atrocious.
Atrocious.
I was
good.
way off with it. I was way off.
I thought
with the
we
bench.
all thought a lot more. Listen, for Mike Scott, I know this is blasphemous in this town, and I love the guy, but he has been terrible.
He's been bad. They've been underwhelming. They have underperformed. I don't think because in theory, if you look at this bench, there's no reason they should be performing as badly as they are.
No.
Especially compared to the way that they played last year. Like there was a reason we brought James Ennis back because he's been like hot and cold.
Yeah, but James Ennis. Here's what drives me nuts. You bring up his name, and this what I loved about him last year. He seemed to get every offensive rebound when he was in a game and get these putbacks.
Junkyard dog.
Yeah, he was a junkyard. I haven't seen that as much this year from him, and that's, in my opinion, it's really always good for it. Like that's the type of guy he's got to be,
right?
To give production. And they go to the bench, and it's very similar a couple years ago. I'm like, who the hell's going to score? Now, I know Trey Burke could score, but like Kyle O'Quinn has just, not been able to find a niche, and now he's not even playing. I don't know what's going on there.
It's a weird situation with him.
Yeah. Now Norvell Pell.
Today, they said that they're not going to.
They're not going to give him. They're not going to guarantee the contract, so he's going to go back.
Great.
And the person I talked to yesterday said that they didn't know yet. So I mean, I guess they didn't know.
Yeah, they didn't know. It came out today. Kyle Neubeck, and then Bodner backed it up. The thought process, and Kyle kind of hinted at this, and I know you kind of hinted at this on Twitter too.
Yeah.
The only reason you would do that is if you got something in the works where you need spaces on your roster.
Yeah.
For NBA guys that are going to come over. So are you bringing two guys onto this roster, but you're trading, whatever it may be, and you need the space?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's so mysterious as to why James Ennis didn't play the other night.
Yes.
I think he's been a very good positive for this team, especially with the corner three-point shooting amongst the league leaders in that area. But I think Mike Scott's gotten to the point where he's so untradeable that you almost have to give up on a guy that you like just to get
Ennis.
just to get a piece back in return.
Yeah. So think of everything we're talking about right now with personnel. I heard this on the radio the other day. Someone called in, shocking, and said Brett's got to play chess and put the piece in the right position. And Mike Visinelli.
I thought you said Jess, and I was like, me?
No.
When
right
that?
You're not coaching yet.
I'll do it.
And Mike Miss responded and said, how can you put the pieces in the right position if you don't have the right pieces?
Yeah.
The roster, and I'm not saying like Elton Brand deserves all the blame, but if we're gonna go after Brett for the some of the things he does on the court, my biggest issue with Brett is I know he tries to hold the guys accountable. I don't know if he tries hard enough.
He's a friend.
He's a friend.
He's not a coach.
And that's one of my big things with him. But if we're gonna give him a lot of criticism, well, Elton's got to be talked about here because he spent $100 million on Al Horford.
I still think before I form any opinion on that, I need to see them play the Milwaukee Bucks again because the theory was he built them to beat the Milwaukee Bucks.
And that's that.
And
how ironic is it that like they spend so much time focused on building the team that can beat the Bucks, they forgot to build the team that can beat they can beat the Celtics, but the Pacers and the Heat and
apparently the Orlando Magic.
Like there's a legitimate chance this year that they don't get out of the second round, and it's like worse than it was last year.
Yes,
and we're in more pain.
Yes, and see, I think the easy argument that people make is, well, that's got to be the coach, and I'm not saying that he's not a part of it. He is.
He is.
But the roster's a part of it too. I think we have to be honest with ourselves. Last year's roster was way better.
Way better.
I mean, it was.
And it fit better. I mean, so much of like the roster being better is how the roster fits together.
Yes.
Because you can unlock things in guys that are lesser players that you couldn't unlock on a team that they don't fit as well in, because when things are fitting well together, it's all more natural. Everyone's more comfortable. Mm-hmm. There's a different chemistry to that team. Like Robert Covington is not a great player. I know that he's like this success story out of Philadelphia. I was never a big fan of Rocco because
he hates him.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot.
I mean, you don't. Yeah,
I don't even hate him.
I mean, Jess, do you hate him?
No, I don't.
No, my hatred, like I've always said, I don't think I actually hate the man, Robert Covington.
No.
I hate the supporter so much that it's made me hate him.
Yeah. So like
Spike Eskins
right.
and those guys. That,
right. So let me ask you this. Did you ever hear, have you heard really any kind of word about Robert Covington since he was in Minnesota?
Outside of him being on the trade.
Layups.
Yeah, outside of him being on the trade block?
Right.
No.
Exactly. So only reason he was a valuable asset was because he played up as a result of fitting better here.
Yes.
But what else did you really expect when you had 2 guys under contract?
No. And listen.
Like you went into the offseason with 2 people under contract, and those 2 players, and then the only ones that returned were the 3 guys that you traded for.
Right. Well, and this is my point. I'm not sitting here saying they screwed up. Jimmy Butler should be here. If Jimmy didn't want to be here, Jimmy didn't want to be here.
Jimmy Butler's irrelevant to me.
It was. Oh, by the way, I cannot stand Heat fans. I mean, they're
idiots.
Worst.
They're the worst.
Type of
people forget they walked out of an NBA
the Utah
Finals
Jazz
game.
fans are absolutely the worst.
Jazz fans are
horrendous.
Heat fans abuse me. I was getting death threats in my DMs.
Jazz fans there
on Twitter because I had a bad take about Jimmy Butler, which by the way remains to be proven if it was bad or not. That's besides the point.
Yeah.
Butler is shooting 11% from 3 the last 11 games.
Yeah.
What would he have done? Schematically, it would have been a good theoretical fit. They'd probably be in the same spot they are right now.
Right. And that's what I mean. First of all, just as brought up a good point. 2 guys are under contract going into the offseason.
Yeah.
So
you have an entire new
and I know that this excuse is getting old to the fans. I get that, but you know it, I know it. Continuity in the NBA and basketball is everything. 19 games the starters have played together, right? Or is it up now?
I think. Well, I don't know if it's up a little bit, but I think the more concerning thing is that the record has fallen off with the starters playing more games together.
More games together. Yes.
I think they were 20. I think they were something ridiculous. It was early on. It was 13-3, something like that. I think it's taken a more balanced step backward now.
But is now without Joel Embiid?
No.
Or is that?
No, that's before that happened.
Before that happened.
So that was in the Dallas.
The losing
loss,
streak was starting
the Miami
before he
loss.
went out.
Yeah.
Well, he got hurt.
And their defensive rating.
He got hurt in the win against
Oklahoma
City.
By the way,
who are playing extremely well.
That was
gross.
My dad's a doctor, and he was like, I don't want to see that. I was
someone sent it to me, and I was like, no, thank you. Not a fan.
Yeah, so this is my point, that they have got to play this thing out. They've got to try and make a couple moves where they can, and they've got to play the season out and see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't think changing a coach right now, or when you get really stupid, when these guys now want to start trading the star players off a team, which just makes absolutely no sense. Look, I'm critical of Ben right now. I am. I don't want to trade him.
No.
He's not without fault, but he's also not the biggest problem.
Is there any player in the NBA who is perfect?
No.
LeBron James is still considered the greatest player in the NBA right now. He still has his flaws. His jump shot has taken a step back this year. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, I can't really talk about that because Ben Simmons at least LeBron takes jump shots.
Yes.
Right.
But Ben Simmons is probably the least of your problems.
It is.
He really. That's my biggest issue. He's the least of it. There are so many other problems before Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Why is this the only thing we're focusing on? Because there's so many other things that he can do and does at an extremely high level that I would argue most of them are top 5 in the NBA. Right now, he's playing at a top 5 defender level. Right now, he's top 5 in assists in the NBA. Yeah. When he puts his mind to it and he gets in there, he's getting rebounds as well. He sees the floor better than anybody other than maybe LeBron James. He is the least of your problems now.
When I look at Ben, here's look, the shooting thing is the shooting thing. It is what it is. I mean,
he needs to shoot.
I don't like it. He needs to shoot.
Everyone
we all
agrees.
Know. Everyone has said it. Everybody. I think Ben has a mental block, and I don't know if the mental block is I'm afraid, I'm not confident, or if it's a mixture of that. And Ben comes off as the type of guy, and I'm not, once again, I'm just kind of, this is a total opinion, that everybody's telling me I got to shoot. Let me show you. I could do this without shooting.
That's exactly what he is.
That's the kind of guy he comes off. And eventually, he
doesn't come across that way when you talk to him, though. Maybe to the media, but when you're talking to him,
I know.
He doesn't come across with that attitude.
He talks through you. It's a lot of he's as an interviewer a lot like Chase Utley was. Cold, dry. he gave you an answer, but it wasn't like the most passionate, inspiring. Like I really buy into what this guy is saying.
But that's what I'm saying. Like when you're not interviewing him, when the cameras are off and the microphones are off, and you're having a conversation with him face to face, he doesn't come across like this. Like I'm Ben Simmons. Like I can do this. I'm an all-star without a third. Like he doesn't come across like that.
But
as a person.
My thought is when he's on the court, the mentality becomes, and part of this is because he's grown up in playing basketball where he was just better than everybody.
Yeah.
So any flaw he might have had in his game, he didn't have to worry about it because he was so damn good at every other part of the game. So eventually he's got to break that. I'll tell you the thing that drives me nuts about Ben Simmons more than anything. When he drives strong to the lane and then turns
on
around
a dime and looks for a pass.
And in the midair just starts firing the ball to and I'm like, that's why people get that's why I get angry.
That's what annoys me the most, I think.
Yeah.
Not much annoys me
like
about
either
him.
go or don't, but don't stop halfway.
Yeah. I actually think that from what we've seen of Ben Simmons this year, the jump shot for me, would I like to see him have a jump shot? Of course, we all would. That's what separates him from being LeBron James. Mm-hmm. I don't think he needs to shoot the ball. I not anymore. And this is why. Against the Celtics, game 1 of the season, 24 points. Against
a quiet 24, by the way.
Yeah, fair.
It was it was very quiet. Like you looked at the end of the game, you're like, Ben Simmons led all scorers with 24 points.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean that was an ugly game for both teams, but it was a quiet 24 points. He's had a number of games this year where against the top teams in the Eastern Conference, where he doesn't take jump shots, and he is easily one of the 2 best players on the court that night.
Yes.
When he's aggressive, that is the Ben Simmons that I don't care jump shot. I don't care if he shoots it with his feet or what. That Ben Simmons can fit with Embiid, which is a preposterous argument to me.
It is a preposterous
because
Agreed.
they've won 50 games 2 years in a row with them together. So what do you mean they don't fit together? And
they didn't win 50 games in back-to-back seasons since when?
And
80s?
people like to go, well, they lost the second round 2 years in a row. People forget that they lost to the eventual NBA champions in a Game 7 on a quadruple bounce on a fadeaway 3 that is going to be missed 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. And
people forget that.
The Celtics series, it's yes.
That was awful.
Brett got
got out-coached.
Crushed. But
he also did not have pieces.
But did you? But like in the beginning of the year,
from that, though.
Right. No, absolutely. Beginning of the year, you listen to guys like Colin Cowherd, who granted they don't really they don't pay attention to the Sixers like we do. Mm-hmm. Everyone in the world had them marked as a team that was a 44-ish win team, maybe. Yeah. That was I would be it's a good story if they get to the playoffs. They cruised in the second half of the season. They were way ahead of it.
They had that 18-game winning streak at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, who's they playing? Well, it doesn't matter. In the NBA, any team could beat any team on a given night. You see it all the time.
Right.
So don't give me that, it doesn't matter. Look at who they played. It's nonsense.
So but anyone who says that, they use that line against you, but that dismantles every argument they've ever made about anything about basketball.
Listen to this argument I had the other day based on Brett. I forget who it was, and I'm just going to kind of give you a cliff notes. Basically, his first thing was Brett's been getting outcoached for 2 years. He got outcoached in the Celtics series with a better roster. I don't know if they had the better roster that year in the sense that they had Bellinelli and Ilyasova. Guys could shoot, couldn't play. They couldn't move. Yeah. And JJ, love JJ, couldn't move. Brad Stevens did a tremendous job of tearing up JJ, if you remember that series.
Yeah, he took him away.
He was getting JJ posted up on almost every time.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, the Sixers roster was far better than what they had, when what the Celtics had healthy with them.
Right.
But they also had things, or when you realize oh damn, they really missed this.
Yeah.
They had shot creators. Sixers had none of that. And you also had 2 rookies, essentially, who were trying to navigate the playoffs for the first time in their careers. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, you have to grade that on a curve because.
And one of them who had a broken face because Markelle Fultz decided to pretend to play basketball for 6 games.
Yeah.
Some guy who apparently used to exist. He doesn't anymore.
He's existing right now. But that's besides the point.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
So this argument, they made that, then they said, then he loses to Toronto, or, that Toronto goes 7, and he actually tried to give him a quick, that was okay, Brett. Okay, Brett. Remember that Joel was sick half that series, and they took that thing to 7.
Joel was literally ready to poop himself for 3 games.
And then
on the court.
Honestly, I think he probably kind of did, honestly.
Yeah, he might have.
He had to at some point.
It's a reason he was covering him.
He pooped himself at some point.
Absolutely. He had to.
And then he goes, and he can never adjust, blah, blah. So I just went back I said, he can't adjust, ? I said, how's he done against Brad Stevens this year? I know it's a different roster, but obviously he's finding ways to beat Brad Stevens now. Isn't that the definition of adjustment, to learn from past failures and to do things a little bit?
Yeah, I don't think it's more so like the game-to-game adjustments, because Nick Nurse had his number for Game 1 last season. Then Game 2, Brett destroyed him. Game 3, Brett destroyed him. Then Nick Nurse rebounded it, and they won the series. I think it's more of like the in-game adjustments that drive me crazy. As someone who tries to be an objective observer, and if it drives me crazy, it drives the fans absolutely off the wall, because they're not wrong in saying, like, philosophically speaking, Brett wants to take away corner threes and he wants to take away layups, which are the highest percentage shots in basketball. That leaves you in theory susceptible to the mid-range jump shot, which is true. It's when you let a guy like Ish Smith get 18 first half points on mid-range jump shots.
That's fair.
And then you don't adjust. Like you have to stop dropping your big at some point and choose to switch the screens or go through it. But living and dying with the same philosophy in game, when it's a game you can and you should and you need to win, I understand that frustration.
I get that frustration. I just, to tell me that he can never adjust, I don't agree with that, because I've seen games where they've had bad first halves. And look, what's looked bad is the last couple games they've taken leads into the half and then blown them in the second half. But, there was a play the other night in crunch time where it looked like, I think Josh and somebody were running a pick and roll. And Al Horford literally ran right into where that's not a set. Like, that's a player making a mistake.
You're telling me that the set wasn't to have Al run right into Josh?
Like, but there are people who go, Brett's got to coach it. At some point, players on the court have to have basketball savvy.
Yeah. No,
and
absolutely.
Al should absolutely have it for as long as he's played.
Yeah, and look, like, people say Brett Brown, has to run a play for Ben Simmons to shoot the ball. It's true, he could. He could, they would run the play. What Ben Simmons chooses to do with the ball once he gets the ball in that spot to shoot it is out of Brett Brown's control.
Well, someone said that he has called the play to get Ben into the corner, and multiple times Ben does not run to the corner. What does he want? Do you want him to run out there and push him?
Which, in that case, then maybe you don't have control of your team. Maybe then maybe you have lost your team.
Different. Yeah.
Then you have. Maybe there is a discussion to be had about firing the coach.
And if it was anybody other than Ben, I'd say you might be right. But I think Ben is the type of guy, he's going to run to the beat of his own drum, no matter who the coach is, no matter. His dad could be on the sideline. I think Ben's going to do what he feels he wants to do.
Yeah, if you don't Ben is connected with LeBron James via phone call whenever he wants. His dad played in basketball. Brett Brown was like a family friend growing up. He's talked to Magic. He's talked to
Dr.
J. If you don't think all of these people are telling him to shoot, dude, you have to take jump shots. You have to do it. You're out of your mind. He's being told from 1,000 different people. But here's and this is a good point.
But that doesn't fit anybody else's narrative.
Right. No, of course. That would
exactly.
Right. It's a narrative-based business. Yeah. Now, here's what someone told me a couple months ago about it was an interesting theory. Australians are a very prideful group of people who, culturally, they're not going to be they're very stubborn in how they can be sometimes.
That could be Brett.
And I think
Brett's got that Australian in him.
And I think there's a reason Jonah Bolden isn't playing either. So I'm not so sure that culturally they're the most coachable two players.
Well, I think there's a belief out there that Ben doesn't like Brett, and I think that's an asinine belief. I don't know. He doesn't love him like Joe. I think he's indifferent. He knows Brett. He appreciates, I think, Brett to a certain extent. But then like we said, that mentality that he has kind of just. I don't know if I can't see Ben ever being a guy who falls in love with a coach.
Right.
I just don't see Ben as and that's not. It's not a knock on him. I just don't think he's that guy. You know what I mean? But to say you got to trade him. And this, it'll open up the space. Well, look, yes, the spacing is an issue. But once again, I think that's a full roster construction issue rather than just a Ben Simmons issue.
Ben Simmons.
Yeah. Right. And I think even if you brought in, let's say you brought in Rich Paul to coach a team, or that's a stupid example, but if you brought in anybody else to coach a team that Ben Simmons respects, he's not going to take jump shots because he's just not comfortable with doing it yet. And he thinks, he's been told his entire life, you are the best player on the court.
Exactly.
He doesn't have
100%.
He's never been told you have to take jump shots.
Yes.
So that's what it is, and you can either complain about it day in and day out and write up laughable trade scenarios that involve D'Angelo Russell, which I think is the most preposterous thing I've ever heard.
I jump ship when D'Angelo Russell shows up.
Or you can actually say he's the best rebounding point guard in the NBA.
Yes.
Tremendous court vision.
Yes.
Elite defender.
Yes.
You don't win games that you won because without his defense.
You saw what happens without Ben Simmons when he was hurt for those 2 games with his shoulder.
Right.
Like you saw what happened without him. You don't have that. Like he is the kind of person who, if he chooses to be aggressive enough, he can take over a game at any point in time. And you're absolutely right. And I've said this to you. I've said it, and I remember sitting at that opening game with Joe and Rob and looking at them and going, do you see how many points Ben Simmons has right now? And they were like, oh, we didn't notice. I'm like, if he just plays like this all the time, no one complains.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
But it's because we have other issues too that are problems that everyone wants to focus on this one thing.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to that with Brett, with Ben, with anybody. Everyone wants to find the blame guy. It can't be a culmination of everything. There's got to be one specific blame, especially on Twitter. I mean, we know that. And right now, it's one of two people. It's either on Ben or it's on Brett. When Joel comes back, they're going to find a way to put him in that mix too. You know what I mean?
If you blame Joel Embiid for anything at any point, I shut you down.
Once again, I don't even.
I'm supposed to be respectful about this. Respectfully, I'm not going to waste my time or your time by engaging you on the idea that Joel Embiid is tradable or B, a problem.
Right, and there's a difference between having frustration with certain players or coaches and blaming them. You're allowed to have frustration from time to time with guys, but.
And believe it or not, I'm sure they probably have that same frustration with themselves.
Yeah, but they're
human beings.
To me, there's not.
People.
What are we talking about?
I don't think that there's one thing that anybody can point at right now and say, this is the problem with the 76ers. Right. There's multiple things going on. So we've just spent the first however long of the show basically talking about all the bad things. Well, how are we going to solve it? Not us. We can't. We're not on the staff. How are they going to solve it?
You make me the head coach.
Yes,
that's how.
That's how we're going to solve it. Jess is the head coach.
I'll sign the petition right here.
Yeah, we'll just make this petition up. Jess will be out there. That's the only way I'm firing Brett.
I bet you there would be a sizable number of people who would sign to.
Oh yeah.
If it isn't because they like Jess, it's because they can't stand Brett Brown.
Yeah.
That's they'll go as far as to see I'll take anybody.
That's someone said the other day. Well, you need to get Brett Brown out. You need to bring in Jason Kidd. What the hell did Jason Kidd do as head coach?
What has Jason Kidd done anywhere? Mark Jackson was one of the guys yesterday, and I'm sitting there like, bro, you've seen him get fired and the team win the championship the very next season.
Mark Jackson is exactly what you're saying Brett Brown is right now. That's what you're saying he is. And then someone said, well, Jason Kidd used to play the position. I don't care. Ben Simmons is Ben Simmons. Just like, listen, Ty Lue, right, the midseason coaching change we talked about, they didn't win because Ty Lue was a hell of a coach. It was because Ty Lue said, LeBron, what do you want to do? And LeBron said, oh.
That's what I said. When they fired him after 6 games,
they fired
him after 6 games. They didn't even give him a chance to actually coach. You know he didn't coach that team while LeBron was there.
So I read this story somewhere. I forget where it was, but it was more about LeBron had a respect for Tyronn Lue that he didn't have for David Blatt.
Yeah.
And the players followed suit. So when you have that leader who's like, yo, I indulge this guy. This guy's one. I'll listen to him. The players who follow you are going to follow suit, and then you have everybody on the same page together. Yeah. Whereas you have 2 guys who like David Blatt, one guy who doesn't. The head honcho, LeBron James, doesn't like him.
Right.
No one's going to listen to him.
And that exactly. You need the camaraderie. And I don't think that's a situation with the Sixers where no one likes Brett. I think they may not all love him, but I don't think there's anybody that has an ill feeling. I mean, do you get that sense from any? Does maybe Al, but I don't know if Al even does. I think Al's just trying to find himself right now.
I think Al isn't the type of guy, outspoken wise, to be yeah, I can't do it, this guy. I just don't think that's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Ben and Joel are young enough where they're he's gonna let us do our thing, so we're we're gonna like him for that, and then they'll realize that they miss Brett Brown, and they probably took him for granted when someone else is here, and they're getting embarrassed in practice, or they're being sat.
But I think Tobias likes Brett.
The only person who doesn't like Brett Brown and never did was Jimmy Butler.
I think there was always an issue there.
Yeah, I was just thinking the only person I could think of who I ever saw look like they had an issue with Brett Brown was Jimmy Butler.
Who's retired, by the way, right now.
Wait, what?
Who's retired, by the way? Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Shooting 11% in Miami. Might as well just be sitting on the beach.
He's the worst.
But
I mean, if you want to just go be in the sun in Miami, have fun hanging out with Goran Dragic.
That's why he left. He was like, you're gonna either give me max or I'm going to leave because I can't stay with this coach.
Yeah, and literally the story was he saw how they handled Dwayne Wade's retirement, and he loved it, and he went to dinner with Dwayne.
Come on, man.
You're not going to get Dwayne's treatment down there, dude. I hate to tell you.
You're not Dwayne Wade?
No.
You're going to go sit on the beach.
I will say,
take care of your new baby. How do you think Jimmy Butler is as a parent? Like, I think about that at least once a week.
I don't know.
I wonder if he's like...
I'm a parent.
Yeah, but like, you're not Jimmy Butler. I'm sorry to break it to you,
Why
but you're
not?
like, you're not Jimmy
What the
Butler.
hell's that? There's a resemblance here.
Literally,
I'll fight TJ Warren, too.
A year and a half ago, I watched Jimmy Butler and a group of his friends walk into a club in Greece. He was wearing a short
Jess got him
sleeve...
here.
I'm the reason Jimmy
Just
Butler
before
was
when
a
he was
Sixer.
the summer before he got traded here,
Right.
just ran into McGreece and said, "Come to Philly."
And
all of a sudden,
that's an
he was
absolute
in
true story.
Philly.
Wait, is it actually that actually happened?
That actually happened. We were in Greece.
Come to Philly.
I was in Greece with my family, and we were sitting on a beach. We were at like this beach club,
Right.
And we're there, and it's one of these like places where like in Mykonos where like the celebrities go to party. So like my brother and I are like, maybe we'll see somebody. I see this like group of like 6'5" plus individuals walking. I'm like, someone has to be in this group. And lo and behold, it was Jimmy Butler, and he was wearing a short sleeve blazer with no shirt and matching bathing suit bottoms and these like little glasses, ridiculous amount of jewelry. And I literally was like, guys, that's Jimmy Butler. And you know, like my sister's like, okay, and your point. And Andrew's like, oh my God, it's Jimmy Butler. So we're like, okay, let's go over. So we went over, and we had been drinking all day, by the way. Like, we had been drinking since, like, 11 o'clock. This is, like, 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I just assumed that.
So we get there, and we say hi to Jimmy. And he walked into, like, a VIP section. And my brother yelled to him, was like, hey, Jimmy, can we get a picture? And he was like, yeah. And he invited us in. So, like...
He invited you. He was nice to you.
Oh, he was, like, very nice.
Really?
He was very nice. So he was like, yeah, come on. So we walk in. Now, there could be other reasons why he was being nice. Right. That's neither here nor there. So we get over there, and... we took a picture, and then I looked at him and I said, hey, you're going to be a free agent next summer. You should come to Philly. And joking, like, I remembered this for the entire year until he made it to the Miami Heat, because he went, it was right after LeBron signed with the Lakers. Right. We landed, and I opened my phone and saw LeBron had signed with the Lakers. And he like, jokingly was like, no, I'm going to go out to L.A. And I was like, no, you're not.
Which
Don't
he didn't.
do that.
He didn't
and I was like,
LA.
no, you got to come to Philly and trust the process, because that's what we do out here. And then all of a sudden he was a Sixer, and I was like, you're welcome, Philadelphia. That was me.
Jess had the magic words.
Yep.
She forced the trade request. That's what it was.
I got Jimmy Butler here. It was no one else. I got Jimmy.
Right after that, he was practicing with the fourth team in Minnesota and getting himself traded to Philadelphia.
Like, screw that. I'm going where that other girl.
Yeah, he's like, that girl told me to come there. I got to go over there.
Hello, welcome.
And goodbye.
But yeah, he was really nice. He was nice enough, and then now he's dead to me.
What the hell are we talking about?
I have no idea. He retired in Miami, and I don't remember why I brought up.
So before we talk about some names on the trade block, some guys that we would like to see come to Philly that maybe we think could come to Philly, let's talk about the guys that are here. Matisse is back being healthy. I think that's going to help. I think Matisse was really coming into it a little bit before that injury, and he was fine.
Yeah.
I think that injury is going to set him back a little bit, as it would any rookie. But he was a piece off the bench that, gave you a little electricity on the defensive end, was able to knock down some shots on the offensive end. Now he's got to find that timing, that rhythm again. You could tell his shots are coming up short right now. Every three that I've seen him is front.
There's no legs into
It's front rim. There's no legs yet.
Yeah, there's like an element of time, a couple days, where you're trying to get your NBA legs back, and as a result, you're missing things short. And then like he made that one corner three. Forget against who? I think it was Indiana.
Yeah.
And like okay, like he's starting to get back in the swing of things. Matisse Thybulle, if you compare him to like where he was taken to other players in this draft, like John Morant's been sensational, and other guys have been sensational. I don't know that there's been a more underrated rookie in this class than Matisse Thybulle. Like,
agreed.
47% from three. What?
He shot 40% his junior year at Washington, which everyone chose to forget about.
Yeah, it was like
including this one right here. Oh, he was so mad when they drafted Matisse Thybulle. He
was
livid.
I was too.
So mad, livid.
My frustration
wanted Carson Edwards, and what's he doing? Hanging out in the G League. Hanging out in the G League.
I'm out. What I had said, this is what she does. She doesn't let me speak.
You wanted Isaiah Cannon 2.0?
No. What I wanted was this prior to that. once this happened, my draft night was ruined. I'm a North Carolina fan. Love North Carolina basketball.
You wanted Cam Johnson.
I was so hot to trot on Cam Johnson.
They wanted him too.
And I know. And when he went that early,
everyone was shocked.
It was one of those. It was. You know what it was? It was very similar. I mean, a little bit different from stakes wise, but the feeling I had was very similar when Carson Wentz gets hurt in the first drive of the playoff game that I can't wait to watch. When Cam Johnson went that early, I went, I don't even care who they get now. And then it just became an irrational thought, right? And my irrationality became I watched the tournament.
Right.
Like I didn't think that I watched every game of Cam Johnson's year, and I was like, this kid, I love this kid. I just love his game. I love his athleticism. And then he goes so early when you're not expecting that. Like he was a guy that was going anywhere from like 16 to late. So I'm thinking, all right, he's going to be around there.
The Athletic had him in the second round, the day of the draft.
And I was so like I got so taken out of it. Like my text to Jess was more so. I think what happened at that point was I started doubting Sixers drafting. I was like, well, whatever they're doing could be stupid.
That's what made you doubt Sixers drafting?
Well, no.
At that moment,
that was the pick. No, I think because I doubted Sixers drafting, no matter what they did once Cam Johnson was off the board.
I'm going to find it.
So I was going to have a frustration moment, and I did then and there.
He was really
to me, I'm
angry.
like, and not only that,
I
had a little bit of scorn because like, they just traded the Boston Celtics. That means Carson Edwards is going to be a stud, and Matisse, And I was like, oh man, I think I was so devastated.
But part of it is everyone's just mad because they drafted somebody that they don't actually know anything about.
And Washington had scared us twice.
And I had done.
Sidney Jones.
I had 6 articles prepped.
Sidney Jones.
I had 6. Yeah. All right. Everyone relax. I had 6 articles prepped of different people that they were rumored to be looking into to take at that pick. So I had done more research than half of the Sixers fans.
No, you've done more than like 89.7.
I didn't do that.
Then more of all of the Sixers fans combined. Like I probably only people who did more research on Matisse Thybulle before the draft than me were the Sixers themselves, and they're like no one wanted to be excited about it. But after looking into him and watching a good amount of film, I was like, I don't hate this idea.
No,
I don't hate this idea at all.
He fits everything they're trying to do. He's like a Roka, but upgraded.
Yes.
And now, like I'll say this, like the GIF that people use of The Office with Charlie Day, where he's like looking at his board and turns around, the hair's all crazy.
Yeah.
Like when I heard his name announced at 11, I like looked up and like looked around, and I was like, this is not even anywhere near where my evaluation of him was. Yeah. And like so, I think people like do like this. They go, "Do I know the name? No. Okay, then." How does he look? Can he shoot? The percentage is like a little iffy. Well, how does he look in film? Oh, he's not dropping he's not getting to the rim at will and like jamming on guys. He's not like taking guys off the dribble and being like a superstar. Mm-hmm. So I don't like the idea of him. Whereas Cam Johnson had all that sexiness to his game.
I think I have just been spurned in so many drafts by so many teams in Philadelphia. I just don't trust anything anymore. Like I need to just stop reacting and go, okay, I'll see when he gets on the field. Because I just don't know. Like, I'm already setting myself up for an absolute devastating May when the Eagles draft in the first round and they don't pick one of the top wide receivers from one of the top universities and they pick a lineman. And I'm just sitting there like this again. Like, I'm setting my mind up already.
The pen just like throws up.
Yeah, to just be pissed off as I'm watching this draft on a Thursday night in May going, I hate Philadelphia. Like, that's what's going to happen in my mind.
You should just drink as much as I did last year on the night of the draft and everything is good.
If you watched any of the college football championship, if they do not draft a Clemson or an LSU player, I'm beating the hell out of that front office. This is ridiculous. Stop drafting Saginaw Valley State and draft from friggin' LSU.
Tell me you didn't like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside?
I remember, you know what I remember saying? I remember going, I don't know this guy. Like, it was one of those moments. But
I don't know anything about college football.
You know what else? Me and Jess, we said this going into the draft. We said it the episode after the draft. What is the hate on DK Metcalf? We look really smart right now. We look really smart right now. But that's besides
at the end of the day, you can teach a person how to run better routes. You can't teach size and athleticism. Yeah. And that's what DK has. He's just bigger than people. Yeah. And, like, you don't – it's not rocket science.
What did Joe think of JJ versus DK?
It was the very similar kind of thing. He's like, you can't teach the size of this guy.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, it was very similar to, it was like, okay, we don't know who it is. Like, let's see. And what we were sold on, we talked about this last week. What we were sold on was he's going to be, when Alshon departs, he's going to be the guy. He's big, jump ball, corner of the end zone.
And this year he's going to be a red zone guy.
And
that's what they told us.
And that's what, and we didn't see it. Ever. We didn't see it happen once. Not one time. He had one touchdown, and it was like barely one against the Washington Redskins. And I told him this last week. When they were playing the Seahawks, they were in the red zone, and he was one-on-one on the outside. And it was right before they got that delay of game penalty. So he was one-on-one on the outside, and I looked at Joe, and I went, this is what we were sold on for him. Like, this is what he's supposed to do. Josh McCown didn't even look his way.
Yeah.
He's not.
Put out a...
and DK, like... You can teach
Rob is beside himself right now.
You can teach quickness.
Really,
you can teach how to make a better break.
Pen's tossed over there.
You can't teach being just a. You can't teach being a better athlete than the person next to you. He is twice the size of any NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone on Twitter was like, was like, why does it why do you need athleticism in your point guard? And Ben Simmons, I'm like you can't teach a guy how to go
I'm
up
tired.
there.
That's the other argument that people make. Well, you're trying to make a guy a point guard. He's not a point guard. No, he is. He can do what you need him to do.
Well, no one on that team would be a better point guard.
Well, also, like, if you think about what people who are like a part of the analytical world think nowadays, like versatility, optionality at positions. Yeah. If you say that, then there is no point guard. It's that your skill set fits best doing this, so let's put you here. There's no he can't be a point guard. Like, does he pass the ball well?
The NBA
Does he direct an offense? Yeah, then he is in that position.
The NBA has stopped being a traditional position league a couple of years ago. Yeah. It's just not that anymore. And Joel was saying that in the piece he wrote today. He said, I respect you, Shaq, but in 2020, centers don't just go post up every play. That's not the game anymore. So, these people would say, no, yes, Ben could be a point guard and he could go post up. And yes, he can, because that's what the game calls for. Like we said earlier, it doesn't call for sets anymore. We're not running the picket fence to get a layup, okay? This isn't Hoosiers with Jimmy Chitwood shooting from the corner. Stop.
But we could use Jimmy Chitwood.
I could use it. Absolutely. Call him. He'll probably come play.
But
we need Gene Hackman, the coach, though.
Right. But people are like, he's got to be a point guard or power forward. Why can't you just be a guy who directs an offense and then off ball goes and gets in the post? Yes. Like why does it have to be either one or the other? If we're really in a position this NBA, that doesn't exist.
You want to know why? And I put this out there the other day. It's an utter joke how little basketball knowledge there is by the wonderful website that we all have to be a part of by doing what we do.
The Painted Line?
ThePaintedLines.com. Get over there now. But I said to someone the other day, January 1st, one of my resolutions was rid myself of any social media I could. Right. So I got rid of a bunch of stuff. I couldn't get rid of Twitter because we do this, and you need Twitter to help out your platform and all. And it drives me nuts. I would love to just say, shut down. Because it makes me 1,000 times angrier being on there. And it's like a drug. Like, when the Sixers are losing, I'm going, I'm not going on Twitter. I'm not going on Twitter. I'm not. All right, let me see what people are saying. You're going through it. It's like, damn it. They sucked me in again, and then I'm yelling at people, and then it's all
I feel like Jess and I play the role where we're in-game or after game, where we're like, everybody calm down. Mm-hmm. It is the middle of January. There are 40 games left in the season, and you're complaining about a game that you lost to the Nets, but that you didn't have Joel Embiid playing. Or this guy shot 0 of 16.
I've gotten to the point.
And you know it's going to happen if they lose.
Oh, if they lose. But here's what's going to happen.
Brett's going to be homeless if they lose.
Yeah, Brett's going to be homeless.
They're going to lose, and so say they lose, what's going to end up happening is, Tobias Harris is going to have, 9 points. Mm-hmm. And they're going to lose by, 4. Well, you're going to be like, well, no Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris went 0 for 16 from 3.
Well, yeah, and then you're going to, for example, the same people who are fine Brett are putting out the stats that in the fourth quarter, Al had, 0 touches, 0 points. Tobias had 0 points. Ben had 4 points in the whole second half. Okay, this is partially on a coach, but that's partially on players too. They're not producing to where they should be producing.
Right.
But I'm literally, I am every night for the last since Christmas, when I tune into the Sixers, I get a nervous feeling in the pit of my stomach, like my son is either a player or the coach of the Sixers, And it's like, oh my God, if they just win, please, for the love of God, so I don't have to see it. Just win. Just please, just freaking win.
Oh, I know.
That's all I want tonight. Just win the game tonight.
My biggest issue though is people just like people take it too far.
Yeah.
And people like forget that these people like they're human, like they're humans. Like, but like you want to just like go out here and say like, for example, this is the biggest like there are 2 examples in the last month. Mm-hmm. One of them is Carson Wentz and taking that awful shot to the back of the head and people telling him that he's soft for coming out of the game and taking care of himself and paying attention to the fact that it's his life. He has a kid on the way. His wife, who is, I mean, she's younger than I am. Like she's young. Like, what is she going to do without him right now? Right. Like, you know what I mean? She's pregnant and God forbid something could happen. His family, his pets. Like, he has all of these things that, like, are just more important than him losing his vision or losing his ability to walk on his own. Like, things that are just more important than that.
Right.
And then the second one was Ben Simmons was posting on Instagram, Twitter, everything about the bushfires in Australia, trying to gather support, donations, whatever. And people are responding like, oh, if you make a jump shot, I'm sure the fires will stop. Like,
this is why people hate Philadelphia.
Like, screw you.
This is why they hate it.
It is. I've said
it's awful.
In the 2 years that I've been doing this more and more religiously, and since me and Jess kind of partnered up, I have grown a disdain for a fan base that I had spent my life defending.
Oh, I can't stand Philadelphia fans.
And now I'm like Sixers fans to me are even the worst. Like I think I tweeted out the other day, this is why I hate Sixers fans. They deserve nothing. Like I got to the point where I was
and you didn't get ratioed for that?
No, I'm not cool. I don't have the clout that you two have. I get like 4 people that just go, oh, I hate you, and I'm like, okay.
When
cool.
Jess like retweets something, I'm like.
Yeah, I need Jess. I tell Jess all the time, can you please retweet my damn
6,000 followers.
Like one time, I'd like to take a 6,000 follower to see what the hell I'm writing.
Guys, I do. Leave me alone. It's not all good, all right? Sometimes I get really attacked and have to, like, switch my notification
I know, but
my buddy
settings.
the one day she was like,
"Did you?" And I'm like, "Dude, I know this girl.
Oh my God, which one? Please share."
Vinny Vaults,
the
Dallas guy.
I probably. I think I blocked him a little while ago, or at least muted him. I don't usually block people. I mute, so I don't see them.
That's what I was told to do. I was told to mute people.
Yeah, I'm not a blocker. I've only blocked like 2 or 3 people.
But I'm like, dude, like I interact with this person all the time. We work together. Like, you can't do that. And
but it's because people
hates the Cowboys. I'm like, everyone
hates the Cowboys.
America hates the Cowboys, guys. I don't feel bad for Drew Pearson today. That was the most overreacted thing I've ever seen in my life for a guy that was a good receiver. But guess what? The better one of the old man group got in and should have got in because Harold should have been in years ago for the amount of stats that he put up.
Agreed.
So there's just that. So and guess what? You got Jimmy in over Dick Vermeil. So take your win and move on.
Dickie V should have been in there. Like he should.
I understand why he's not.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the persona these other guys have, like Cowher and Jimmy Johnson. But Ray Didinger brought up a great point this weekend. If you look at what he did, he took 2 franchises to the Super Bowl, winning one.
That were like the losingest.
And he said if you would have looked at those teams before he took over both the Eagles and the Rams for the 10 years before that, they were 2 of the most losingest franchises for that 10-year span. And he had a hell of a run with Kansas. People forget he was going 12-4 with Kansas City when he was there too. Mm-hmm. But that's neither here nor there.
He'll get in next year.
I think he'll be in this year. They were only taking 2 coaches. Cowher and Jimmy had the persona. They were able to do the whole TV thing with them. Right. Yeah, well, it made sense.
Yeah, no, if it's a good narrative.
I mean, as for much as all of us hate the Cowboys and everything, the way that Jimmy reacted, that got to me. I was like, this is really cool. It was a really cool moment.
I wonder if they're the diehards in Philly are gonna react the same way about Jimmy as they will
I gotta tell you.
Jess got emotional. I can't imagine what.
I was like, wow, that was pretty cool.
I'll tell you. I looked at it and I went, you got fired, and you sucked in Miami. That was my thought. You were a terrible coach in Miami, and not the Hurricanes.
You're the worst.
The Miami Dolphins. I hate Jimmy Johnson. And here's the part: when I was young, my first memories of the Eagles were the Buddy Ryan era. I was a goofball, young little kid. I loved Buddy. Literally came home. I'll never forget it. In first grade, the day Buddy was fired. I got my first F on a paper, which now looking back on that, damn that teacher giving an F to a first grader to put an F on their paper. That's nonsense.
And now you're a teacher. So
I was saying, wait a second. Was it like a paper in like English class?
No, I don't remember. It was first grade. I don't even know if you have an English class. It was just a big F on it. I was like,
because I think that's hilarious that you're an English teacher.
So I'll never forget it. The school was around the corner, so I walk home. I walk in the door, and my dad's sitting there, and he went, Rob, buddy got fired. And I burst into tears. I said, this is the worst day ever. My first ever. I was devastated.
We can see that.
He's going to cry right now. You see this? He's going to cry right now.
I hated when Buddy got fired. And now I look back and go, he probably wasn't that good of a coach. He didn't win anything under Buddy Ryan. Nothing.
Okay, well, we weren't talking about Buddy Ryan.
Well, I was.
But now we are.
Now we are. We're talking about Jimmy Johnson, who sucks. And Jimmy, the whole point was Jimmy hated Buddy. This is why I hate Jimmy. My first hatred for the Cowboys came because of the way that Jimmy responded to Buddy and because Emmitt Smith called Andre Waters a cheapskate after a game in like the 80s. They're my two earliest.
I wasn't born yet.
I wasn't even a thought yet.
Okay, it was
my
like
parents
88.
were still in high school.
They were.
My parents were in college.
My dad hadn't hit puberty yet.
They were my two earliest. I have three early football memories. Those two. The other one was being like a 4-year-old in Vermont watching San Francisco beat Denver 55-10. Three early.
When I
football
came in
memories.
here today, I did not think we'd be talking about like Buddy Ryan versus Jimmy Johnson.
That's what the best thing about
Jimmy
the man. This is why it's the man. This Austin. We just go everywhere.
My earliest memory of Jimmy Johnson has always been on TV. All right, like I knew he was a Cowboys coach, but like I
even worse about how old I am.
I think my earliest memory
I don't try
of the
to,
Eagles,
but right now,
yeah. Like I didn't even like sports till I was like 13, and then I fell for the Sixers. Like Sixers were like my first love ever. And my first memory of the Eagles, like going like that thing about it is, it's got to be like the D-Jax game with Vic in New York when they come back from like 25 down in the fourth quarter.
I think I was done college by then.
I was in high school. I was a sophomore in high school.
And I'm sitting there like my dad and I are Jewish. We're at a Christmas party that we were hosting, and my dad and I are like, we gotta go light the candles. This is a Hanukkah gift, and we're going. You want
to know what I remember best about that game? The following week when they lost to Joe Webb and the Minnesota Vikings on a Tuesday night because of a freaking snowstorm.
The snowstorm.
I remember that too, actually. Now it's all coming back to me.
Yeah, freaking Joe Webb beat him.
I forgot that was the next week.
That's like when people always go, oh, the Eagles get to face the backup. I always go, Joe Webb. I never want to face a backup because of Joe Webb.
It's okay. Then Case Keenum came in here, and you saw what happened there.
That was wonderful.
That was a great game.
So now that we've gone away from the Sixers, let's go back to finish the show up on the Sixers. What do you want to see, or who do you want to see, and who is a legitimate shot? Like, there's been so many names thrown out who can come here. They have to be able to trade for him. You know, I mean, look, I've been on the Luke Kennard train all year. Can they get him here?
Yeah. Brian Jacobs, like he thinks they can, and he like.
Are they gonna have to take other salary with it?
I think most of his reasoning is like you can probably buy a little low on Kennard because he has bad knees. Mm-hmm. Kennard's been like a really good player this year, and he's like very young. He's still very young. Yeah, and like you can never have enough shooters. So if they, like what happens if they get good fast again?
Right.
You could use him for 2 years. So I mean, for me, I think the best option probably has got to be Bogdan Bogdanovic in Sacramento, because like this team more than anything they need a shot creator. I mean and I think they're good enough, like talent wise, that if you can get one guy who can do that, you can unlock.
Well, that was my question. Do you think it's just what? Do you think they're a guy away from solving a lot of these issues, or is it something they got to bring in a couple guys?
They're a walking bucket away from solving problems.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. And then maybe it's like me being a little bit over optimistic, but I also think like things aren't as bad for this team as the fans have made them out to be. Like they're like through all of this like chaos that we've seen the last month, they're still 9 games above 500. Do you know how many teams would kill to be 9 games above 500?
And 3.5 out of the 2 seed right now, right?
Yeah. And they have.
I'm sure the Warriors would kill to be 9 games over 500 right about now.
Or to be 9 games within of 500.
Somewhere, but
like
somewhere better than we're there. Have they won 10 games
look
yet?
Look at us taking a shot at the team that was the absolute dynasty of
They're 9-33. Like what are we talking?
They literally haven't won 10 games yet.
And especially because if you think about where we've come from as a city, like 4 years ago, when I was a freshman in college, they won 10 games. 3 years later, and you had no idea what they were going to be. None of us knew. No. We were all hoping.
Yeah.
And now they're a team that we expect to get to the conference finals. Like that's a very big jump in expectations.
And I don't think we have to change that expectation yet. Now, if this continues a little longer, you might just start saying, well, I don't know. But
right. And then in which case, like, then you have to have the conversation of, at the end of the year, Brett Brown has to go.
Yeah, Brett Brown's going to go. There's no doubt.
Like, number one, I don't think it matters who you bring in. Ben Simmons won't shoot the ball. I just don't think it's going to happen. You have to accept him for what he is at this point.
Yeah.
And then you also have to take into account, like, okay, but what if, like, 2 years from now he has this moment of great mental maturity, and it's like, oh my God, I do have to shoot the ball. Because you never know when it hits guys. Like you just don't know.
He's what, 24?
If he doesn't, he's
a day younger than me. He's a day younger than me. I'm 23.
Yeah, he's 23.
You can give up on me at 23? Like, come on.
Why are we forgetting this? Well, not us, but why do people forget that?
And Joel's only 25. He is less than a year older than me, and Ben's a year younger than I am. Do you know what I'm doing with my life? I don't.
No.
Okay.
I'm 35.
They're making millions and millions of dollars.
I don't know what I'm doing.
And let's keep in mind, Matisse Thybulle and Ben Simmons are the same age.
Which is kind of crazy.
By the way, Matisse, the little message of Matisse. Man, if you go to Popeyes, you go buy the biscuits for everybody, man. You cannot show up
after last year. Why are we buying biscuits for anybody? It should be Caesar salads all day long.
No, damn it! But if people are going to send him to Popeye, you can't say nobody asked for the biscuit. The biscuit comes with every damn meal. Just
did you see they asked him if he got honey for the biscuit, and Tobias was like, he got enough honey to last him a year. But only got 6 biscuits, and that's why we're so confused.
That was the most production Kyle Quinn's given to the team so far this year, was that big video. He was great on that.
I think they're going to trade him.
I think he's going to go.
I think what might happen is
I like the guy. It's just not.
No, and I think last year, if they had him, they get to the finals because he's a very good.
You needed somebody,
yeah.
Speaking of,
Boban.
Well, no. How about Boban the other night, though, coming in and hitting his patent shots? And I'm going, damn you, Boban.
I miss him.
I love Boban.
But I'll tell you what, beginning of the year when I called into the show, I said, JJ is a good player. We're not going to miss him. I have thought about the last couple of days, to an absurd degree of, how many more games they'd have won already if they still had JJ. Because, they gave it Indiana, they win if they have JJ.
Yeah.
6 of 33 from 3 is
oh, my God. The last couple games have been so bad with it.
Yeah.
It's funny, but, I guess one of the games I was watching last year, I screamed Boban because he did something, and my daughters, who were at the time were 3, heard it. So their favorite so now whenever
Scared
I said,
the hell out of your daughter.
No, literally the rest of the season, whenever I said the Sixers were on, they would go, Boban, where's Boban? So the first game this year, they said, where's Boban? And I was like, oh.
All right.
You had to tell him.
How do I tell you that these guys leave?
Pour one out.
They don't come back
Comment
sometimes.
F, pay respects.
But what about Davis Bertans? Can they get him?
I think the market for him is just going to be so competitive.
Yeah. I like that guy.
Like a standstill shoot. And honestly, Washington, let's say you get John Wall back, and he's a shade of his old self. You have Beal already. They're bad, but they're not horrible bad.
Right.
They could be good again in two years, and you might still want Bertans back on the team then. Yeah. So I don't even think he gets moved necessarily.
Okay.
I think they're going to do everything they can to get Bogdanović because the Kings can't re-sign him. The Kings would be dumb to not take a flyer on guys like Zaire Smith, who I'm sorry, but they're gonna. I think.
I just think they almost killed the guy, and
you owe him to stay.
I just feel like
I remember I heard that after I was watching full episode, and I heard that I was like, oh boy, she's gonna.
Here's the thing, I'm not even gonna be that upset. I feel bad because
he's one of the
you literally almost killed him, and you're just gonna be like, all right, you're fine.
He's literally I look at it as saying this. He's one of the only chips where there's not a book out about this kid yet. All there is potential. So people will take him based off potential. Like everybody else, we're talking about them trading. People know who they are right now. You know what I mean? There's not too many guys. I can't imagine many of the guys down on the blue coats that if there's a lot of other names being thrown into these deals because they're just too raw, I guess. Yet I mean,
I read something today. It was they were looking. The wording of it was weird. Where I wasn't sure whether it was coming in or going out. But they were they had been talks with other teams around the league about trading something involving a 2-year two-way guy. So I don't know if that was them bringing in one or them shipping Pell out for assets.
Out for something. Yeah.
But I think that I think they're going to make a deal. And I think it's going to be of not just a little side piece.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Are they going to make a legitimate deal this year at the deadline?
I think they will. I think they have to because I think Elton Brand recognizes that he's going to cost his coach his job because the pieces aren't right.
Loves Brett Brown. He's not going to want to fire. Like, if he can keep him, he's going to do everything he can to do it.
Now, granted, Brett Brown, like, he's co-signed all these deals that they made this summer. Like, this is.
Brett's on this roster construction as well.
No,
no doubt
absolutely.
About it.
But Elton Brand also has to worry that, like, they might have a coach come in who isn't so, like,
in love with this roster,
who isn't so in love with Elton Brand. And so, like, he might get a lot of pushback from a new head coach. So I think Elton has to make a move. I think he knows he has to make a move.
Do you see this as a one trade and maybe a one buyout type of
buyouts are so fickle because, like, I think like, we thought that they would be all in on that after what happened with Marco and Ilyasova, and I think like there could be guys out on the market. I don't know about the market as much as I know about trades.
There's a lot of people that say, oh, they should just wait till the buy. I think, like you said, the buyout market's way too fickle because these guys get to choose where they're going.
Like you caught lightning in a bottle when you got Ersan and Marco. You got lucky. Yeah. Like, you got very lucky.
And what happened last year was the two guys that were bought out, and Wesley Matthews and my guy Wayne Ellington.
Who I love. I won Wayne Ellington.
Yeah. They didn't work out because those guys wanted to go somewhere where they could start. So you were out because they were going to be bench.
That's right.
And, that's why I don't know if you can. Like, you have to make a trade move in case you can't.
Yeah.
But if a buyout thing happens, you still got to be open to that as well. Yeah. Because you have to help them. Really, any move you make, are you moving anybody out of the starting lineup? Probably not at this point.
Right. I think the one thing I would consider is, like, you put Al on the bench. And you start Matisse. And then, like, that's a lineup that you could cook.
Now, would Al be okay with it?
And that would be nuts.
Would your $100 million man be okay with it?
I don't think it matters what he wants.
And then I put this because this is what our people used to say about JJ. You're paying him this money. Are you going to put him on? Like, I agree with you. I don't care.
Right.
But the team's going to look at it and go,
Are you trying to win a championship? Are you trying to save face?
Right, but unfortunately,
like, are you trying to make everybody happy? You're trying to.
I agree, but the unfortunate, the financial part comes in there with these front offices, right? And if you're paying a guy $20-some odd million a year, you got to put him on the bench.
Yeah, it's an ego thing. Like this is my ego taking a shot because this guy's on the bench now.
Like Greg Ward not coming up all year because the Eagles didn't want to say they screwed up another pick on Mac Hollins. Right. I mean, that was a total ego thing on the front office and the coach's spot.
But I will say this, and like I don't know how much time we have left, so this is like my last big point.
Yeah, we got about 10 minutes.
I like, regardless of how bad it gets in the regular season with this team, for whatever weird reason, I believe that they will come playoff time. They're going to surprise a lot of people in the NBA because I whether it's the same roster or it's a player added on, which I think it's going to be the latter. A player will be added on. Mm-hmm. I just think that they're so built to handle game-to-game adjustments against opponents that they're just going to wear you down physically. And they're gonna games are gonna get ugly. Games are gonna get ugly. I mean, they're gonna get really ugly. Yeah. But I think that they're going to get to the top.
My glimmer of hope is that and listen, it's a tough way to play because you can't just turn it on and off like a light switch. But in the NBA, you've watched teams of the past just kind of hang around 4 or 5 seed and then maybe bump up to a 2 or 3 by the end of the year, and then just say, now you have to see exactly what we were built for. Listen, Toronto was the 2nd seed last year, but if you remember during the year, people were all like, well, they did exactly with Kawhi. They would sit him. He barely would play. That's why Kawhi was never talked about as an MVP candidate through.
He's the best player in the NBA.
Right. But he wasn't talked about last year because he was. And all of a sudden it was lights are on. It's time to play the game that we want to play.
Sixers Sixers saw firsthand how to handle this thing. You get healthy regular season. Mm-hmm. You can be. He was an all-star in regular season. Toronto Kawhi.
Oh yeah.
But we saw a whole different machine, an animal, in that playoffs. And
he was literally a machine. I still am not convinced he's a human.
I
don't think he's a person. I
watched those games on my couch, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? This guy is making
what is
everything.
Yeah, he couldn't miss, except when Ben Simmons was guarding him. He missed a little bit more.
That hurts the narrative, though.
You're right, it does.
So no one's going to bring it up.
Yeah, no one's going to talk about that. But he made it a hell of a lot harder on him than anybody else.
So I think Sixers saw that, and they're like, they might be onto something there with exert yourself, but don't go crazy in regular season, and then we're full green light playoffs, ready to go.
Right.
Once you get in, anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
We're seeing that literally. We're seeing it in the NFL right now.
You look at their record. Like if they get to that 3 seed, that 4 seed, they're winning a first round series. Their home record's unbelievable. If they can win one road game per playoff series, I like their chances against anybody.
Yeah.
I agree. So you think Bogdanovich is the move? You think he's the guy who comes here? If you had to make a guess.
I would think so.
Okay. What do you think?
I would like to see him here because that is, I told you, walking bucket is what we need.
Walking bucket. I mean,
TJ McConnell will be also another.
My dream
would be opposed to that.
It was after he was mic'd up the other night. Did you watch that little video? It was after that, and I was just
Don't say anything incriminating.
God, I missed that.
Yeah. My dream is Luke Kennard and another player.
He has bad knees though. That's what worries me. Like he's missed a lot of time.
And you put him with
injuries.
this medical staff, it's over.
You're gonna lose a leg.
He might. But I just want to see Luke Kennard here. My cousin, who's a big basketball guy, has been on Luke Kennard for 3 years. I've been on him all. Like, that was kind of my thing. Like, I would love to get Luke. So, I mean, would I be happy with Bogdanovich? Absolutely. Here's what I want. I want to move for someone who's going to move the needle and shoot the ball, be a shooter. I don't want any of these, this guy or that.
Yeah.
No, we need legitimate moves to make this thing work.
Yeah, add an extra syllable to that word that I didn't realize.
Legitimate. Yes, I can do. I'm an English teacher, so I can just change the language when I want to. It works for me.
I'm not going to judge. But I think people you look at their point differential, they're like plus 3.3 all season long. So like they're the average outcome of a game is the Sixers are winning by 3.3 points. Mm-hmm. That's without getting any production at all out of the guy you drafted in the first round 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. That's without even playing Jonah Bolden a lick. So you have guys on the roster who aren't getting any burn at all that you're just counting on as value pieces.
Yeah.
So if you trade them and get a guy back, that changes the needle.
Changes everything.
That changes the dynamic of the team so much and how they do things.
Yeah, and I think they are a team because of the way they're built and because of Brett's Australian pride or whatever it might be. He wants to shoot threes. So you got to get somebody who's going to knock them down or it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Before we end the show, though, I do want to just quickly do a little Eagles talk here. Jess, we literally sat in here and talked about, we weren't happy with how Doug said, Mike Groh and Carson Walsh are coming back. And in true madness fashion, the following day, Carson Walsh and Mike Groh are gone. Then Corey Unlin becomes the defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions because of his relationship, I guess, with Matt Patricia. That
was a very easy not have to fire.
Yeah,
I think
that's an interesting move there.
You think Doug knew about it? Like someone said that he knew that they were gonna get fired.
Well, I think Doug put his foot in his mouth because Doug should not have said those comments without talking to ownership and management because obviously they all got to come together on this.
But here's the thing, that's what Doug's gonna say regardless if you talk to him or not. Mm-hmm. That's at the end of the day, if you watch any press conference with Doug Peterson ever, and I watch every single one of them.
I love Doug.
That's how he answers every single question.
Absolutely.
Like it's the most positive response possible, followed by we have all the confidence in the world in our guys, and then the typical Andy Reid, we got to do better, I got to be better, blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go get some ice cream.
But like if you're Doug and you go through that entire spiel and then they had this planned out in advance, they were going to fire Groh and Walsh. You got to walk in there the next day in the office and be like, "What the hell are you doing?" Like I just
it was a bad look, and I know that everyone said, I think Jeffrey's meddling too much."
At this point, they needed to go anyway, so they needed to go anyway, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
Just didn't care what they did in the way.
Yeah. So now the question is the names that are being thrown out for all these different positions. So for the offensive coordinator, you have John DeFilippo's name is now going back out there.
Him back.
He's not coming back.
I would love him back there just from the standpoint of he's not going to call the plays here. No. Jim Caldwell, I would love, but it's a matter of health, it sounds like, with him. If it's an in-house guy, I don't want it to be, and not because I don't trust Deuce Staley. I just think we need another voice, but Deuce has got to be the pick.
If it's in-house, absolutely.
If it's in-house, you can't pick over him. You can't make it Press Taylor or any stupid-ass move like that.
I really thought Press Taylor would have been included in that.
Yeah, but
Jason
apparently
Garrett,
not.
baby.
Jason Garrett is in New York today interviewing for the offensive coordinator position with the New York Giants, by the way.
With the Eagles fan, New York Giants head coach?
Yeah, as far as the wide receiver coach, I love the two names that are getting thrown out there, especially Hines Ward. I would love to see Hines Ward come here.
So the argument against Hines Ward right now is...
experience.
No, it's not. Was he just too good and too talented to be able to teach that? Because the typical conversation is it's like the average players make the best coaches.
True.
Like a Steve Kerr.
I agree.
Or like TJ McConnell will be the world's best NBA
But you
coach.
have to remember that Hines Ward wasn't like this just unbelievable. He had to work for everything. He was a small guy.
Sure, but did he just there? If there's too much talent there, because the argument is the talent can't be taught. So if he just had, of course, everyone has to work for something, but did he just have too much God-given talent that he doesn't know how to articulate some of that stuff? Personally, all I want in a wide receiver coach is someone who can say, don't talk badly about your quarterback, extend your arms, don't pull them back, catch the ball.
Don't text Josina Anderson.
Hines Ward, or Bobby Engram. I'm okay with either one of those guys being the wide receivers coach.
Don't talk behind your quarterback's back. Catch the ball when it's thrown to you.
And I would love to steal
it's
from.
Not hard. I mean,
no,
think about it that way.
I could do it.
And
Joe could do it.
I tell you who I'd like to steal from the Dallas Cowboys staff now that is Chris Richard to come in and coach our D-backs. I think that would be a dynamite hire.
After the Scandrick thing, I don't trust any Cowboys.
But the thought process is this, right? Because you've seen this kind of come out. Chris Richard comes over. You know who follows him? Byron Jones is a free agent. Byron Jones becomes your veteran cornerback with all the young guys, because they're going to have to bring somebody in, depending on if they keep Jalen Mills or not, and obviously Ronald Darby.
They're going to have to draft one, and then.
Would you take Joe Burrow or Tua first overall?
Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was, and I'm telling you, I watched almost every LSU game this year just because I was betting on him.
Dennis agrees. Dennis knows.
Yeah. And I say it from this standpoint. Joe Burrow might be one of the single greatest passers that we've seen in college football in my lifetime. Now, I'm not going to go back to the guys that I didn't really get a chance to see, but in my lifetime, what I watched this kid Joe Burrow do this year was one of the greatest college performances I've ever seen as far as a quarterback position. And Tua is going to be a nice player. But first of all, if you're going number one, right now, Tua, that injury, you got to give that injury some time to heal.
Oh, yeah.
And I love Burrow's swag. Him smoking that cigar in the locker room after that game was.
And almost getting arrested, all of them almost getting
arrested. Well, that was because that was the linebacker.
Funny.
How do you arrest somebody?
Well,
they were all smoking in the locker room.
It was OBJ's fault. OBJ's and they're throwing money around. Like, this is not, stop it.
And the NCAA sitting there like, oh my God.
The NCAA going at it. The NCAA was having a heart attack when he was pulling hundreds out and slapping them in the players' hands after the game.
Somebody stop that, man.
I'm going, what the hell is happening?
Who wins this? Who wins tonight?
Mock?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, okay. We could still probably play it.
Who wins tonight?
The Sixers, obviously.
You have the Sixers going 82-0, don't you?
I think I think the Nets win. I think it's going to be
Are they at home tonight or are they?
Why are you doing this to me, Austin?
They're at home, but Kyrie's playing. So.
Yeah, but why are you doing this to me, Austin? I don't want to know this.
It's not going to play.
It's not playing.
It's YouTube. It's not going to play.
Oh, it's not going to play.
No.
All right. Well,
learn how technology works.
Yeah, leave me alone. I'm old. Yeah. Austin, thank you so much for being here, man. We're glad we're going to have you on a lot now that we're all members of thepainted.lines.com. You'll be able to catch the video of this on the next day or two on the Painted Lines YouTube page. We're going to get it up. Our man Dennis is going to get it to us. I want to thank Dennis getting us up on Facebook Live over on DETV's Facebook page. This is our new home down here in Wilmington, Delaware. We will be back next week to give you hopefully some Sixers positivity.
I'll report live from Camden. I'll be like, hey, Rob, I'm here at the Camden Training Complex.
That's right,
They're throwing me off the campus, but I'm outside.
We are going to have some positive things for you next week. Jess, great as always. We'll see you next week.
Always.
Everybody embrace the madness.